This is tutorial 3 using MuseScore. We're going to start with the setup wizard, just create the separate score that we're going to need to use that will copy the music from the XML file to. And so I'll give it a name of tutorial 3 and add our composer, which is Bach, of course, not Bach. Okay, and then we'll continue. Okay, let's go ahead and arrange this for woodwinds. So I'll need a flute, an oboe, flat clarinet, and a bassoon. And we'll add that and we'll continue. Okay, I know this happens to be in D minor, so okay, we'll need a pickup measure. And we need, I think it's about 16 measures, but let's make sure we have just a few extras just in case. So let's make it 18. Okay, and then we'll click done. All right, so here we have our score template. It's still missing a few things, and later on we'll talk about how to create templates, which will help you. All right, so now our next step is to import the music XML file, and we go here and select Open. And let's see, and I have it here. MuseScore does not seem to remember where I was the last time I was here. So I have to go searching for those files each time. So we'll go here. All right, so here's my file. It's imported. Now you'd think that maybe we could just use this, but you'll notice it's soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and so we'd have to change the instruments. And my experience in most notation programs is that editing files like this is actually more difficult than it is to just go ahead and do the copy and paste into your own file. Now I'm not sure that that's necessarily true here because I've noticed I don't have brackets. I don't have the bar lines through the score. So that's kind of an interesting. We'll have to decide how we want to work with that. All right, so let's go ahead and copy our music. Select Command A will select all. Command C will copy it. And we'll click here on this first measure. If we can, I hope. And paste it in. Okay, so now it's done a couple of odd things. One, it's kind of put things on two measures, and I'm not exactly, or two pages, and I don't know exactly why it chose to do that, because there's clearly plenty of room for it. Let's get rid of our extra measures. We don't need those. See if that'll do anything. Nope, still there. So I think what we have to do is we have to go into the Edit the General Style and work with the page, and we're going to have to decrease the lower and upper margins here of the music. Let's see when it finally decides to go. Getting closer. There we go. Okay, so not exactly sure why that chose to do that way, but that's what it did. I bet there's a simpler way, but hopefully somebody will tell me that later. Okay, so here we have our music, and it's set for flute. Now you'll notice that there's some things wrong here. Look at the stems in these things, and so and that must have to do with the way it was entered into the music XML file. And so we may have to fix that a little bit later on too. But actually the first thing that I don't like is I don't like the range of the flute. If you'll notice, the flute is really fairly low here. So let's go ahead and transpose this. Now, before we've tried to transpose on individual small selections and we've had trouble with it. But if you select all and go to the transpose, over here, and then tell it to transpose by key, I'm going to transpose it up to G minor, okay, and tell it to transpose the key signatures. I believe it will do all of that for us. Yes, okay, so we now have all the correct key signatures. Note this is a transposing score, so the B flat clarinet is in C, but we still have these issues with the notes. Okay, so we'll have to come back to that later. But I know that I'm going to delete some of these measures, so before I do any more editing, I think I should go ahead and figure out where the repeat is. We can start out and we can just play it. So we just hear it. We're hearing it start over again right here. Okay, so I'm going to select that measure, and then let's figure out. This is going to be a 4-bar phrase, so I need to delete everything except the last measure of the phrase because I'm going to do the first and second ending type of repeat. Okay, so I need to delete 3 bars, and so missed it there. There we go. And so we'll just go up and delete these measures. Okay, while we're at it, let's go ahead and add in the repeats. Okay, so I'll need a forward repeat on the first measure, and then I will need a return repeat on the fourth measure, and then endings are added by lines. So we'll, oops, and so you have to, that was interesting. Okay, so we have to move things around just a little bit to get them in there. Okay, and so there's our first and second endings. Okay, and so what's nice is that this, oops, here, let's take us up here, back to the, and you'll notice that it does play the endings back. Okay, and so it does in fact play it. All right, now our biggest problem here is the first and second endings, or not the first. Our biggest problem is these notes. They're all the wrong direction. And so far what I've found is the way to make them flip is to click that here. So you can select different notes, and this is tedious. So I'm going to do all of those. I mean, basically, I have to do them all. You can select as many as you want at a time, you know, so you can select groups, which is kind of nice. But other than that, I'm not real thrilled with this. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be back in just a second here. All right, so I've adjusted the stem directions on all of the instruments except for the bassoon, and the reason I didn't do the bassoon is I realized that when I looked at it, I think it's actually kind of high, and I'm going to take it down an octave. It's one of the nice things about four-part writing is that the bass part can be an octave low, and it's okay if you have kind of a 3+1 thing. So let's go ahead and just transpose that down an octave. Okay, I'm not transposing key signatures or anything else. Okay, so just down one perfect octave. And once again, my stems then end up being kind of messed up. Okay. And there's also one other little idiosyncrasy with these stems. I found that, for example, let's say I wanted to change all of these. Well, let's see. No, let's start from here to here. I want all of those stems to go up. Now, if I click that, you'll notice that the group of eighth notes does not go up, and I have to click just the first eighth note to get it to work. So I find that to be a little time consuming. There's got to be, hopefully there's a better way to that. But, okay, so we'll be back as I finish the bassoon part now. Okay, so after wasting a good 5 minutes manually changing the direction of these stems, hopefully there is a better way, or somebody's thinking about it or going to add a plug-in. I'm now ready to finish this off. There's not very much left to do. The first thing is that I've noticed that I have 4 measures on each of these. Now, there's 2 ways of doing it. One, we can go up to the Edit General Style, and on the page, let's see, Systems, we can tell it how many measures per system. And so I could just simply type 4 and go like that. And then that would go ahead and set it up almost correctly. But you see, the problem is it counted the first measure, the pickup measure as a measure. So that kind of messes things up. So instead, I'm going to have to do it manually. And to do that, you use the breaks and spacers. And there are 3 of them. There's a line, a page, and then a system spacer. And so what I need is a line spacer, and I just drag it to the last measure of the system I want, and then you can see that it moved it down. And so now I have a much better little looking layout. A couple of other things. I think my fermata here could stand to be moved up a little bit, so I just collect it, and so I think all my fermatas are just a tad too close. That's probably something we can edit in the general style somewhere along the way too. Okay. So they're all just a little too close to the bar lines for my taste. Oh, okay, here it looks like I've missed one of those. Okay, and so everything's good there. The only thing left now is I do need my name. And so we'll create another composer. And I'm just going to write a arrangement Hess. And we'll put Bach up above me and me down. If you wanted to put your whole name, that would be okay. All right, now this looks almost good. We're just missing a couple of things. The system still doesn't look quite right, and so we have to go ahead and fix that. First thing we need is a bracket. Okay, we should definitely have a bracket on our quartet like this. Oops, you just drag it to the first measure, double click it to edit it, and then you can then click it and drag it down. Okay, and the same thing with the bar lines. I'd like the bar lines to go through the, and so I double click the bar line, drag it down, and then you see all of them go. All right, so now this looks pretty good, and we're done.